What up, though, everybody? E-Buck in the building. What's going on? How y'all doing? How you feeling? Hopefully, everybody is doing well wherever you may be across America or other parts of the world. This, of course, is the one and only Gametime Audible podcast with me, your boy E-Buck tonight, as well as the man with the master plan himself, the one and only world famous sports guru, Hugh Lee. What up, Hugh?
What's up, E man? How everything going?
It's good, man. I'm ready to get it in. A lot to talk about this week as always. So let's go on and jump it off. But for those of you who are looking for the show on the Instagram, don't worry, we're going to get to that. We're going to record the second half of the show this evening on IG. But in the meanwhile, you guys who are here on Facebook and YouTube, you will get the exclusive first part of the show just to yourself. So that being said, we about to get it cracking. Hugh, what we starting off with, man?
Man, we got to start off with the whole situation with Ron Howard, man. It was a crazy thing that went on in college, man, and kind of shocked me. I wasn't really paying no attention at the time. I just got out the break room right before all this stuff happened, and then when you gave me the text, I said, okay, what's really good? And when I went back in there, I seen the controversy what happened, and yeah, it got a little out of hand. But at the end of the day, it seems like in that case, I just feel like he needed to be a little bit more patient, regardless of the fact what happened. We don't really know what all went happen in the situation.
See, on the contrary, sir, we didn't figure out quite a bit the last few days. Allow
Hmm.
me to give you Exhibit A. For those of you who did not see what exactly transpired, we got a little video for y'all to view in regards to this here. Stand by as I find it for you. But yeah, it definitely was an interesting thing, and there's definitely some things that have been said and should be said. Some of them of which I'll talk about a little bit later when I talk to y'all about my new podcast that I'm starting very shortly. But hold on, people. Let me find what I need right quick here. Slight technical difficulty. Mouse, what's wrong with you? Act right, mouse. There we go. Here we go, y'all. This is what transpired as it transpired.
Yeah, I ain't trying to be too friendly with that guy too, man. He know what he did was wrong. He's
Hey,
making
here you go.
solid.
Here, check it out. Check it out.
Yeah. Oh, see now. I didn't see that at first. And I heard it. Mm.
Now, see, my friends, that's what happened as it happened on the floor that day. Now, here's the explanation. Well, actually, no. We're not gonna give you the explanation from us. I'm gonna give you the explanation from the two combatants. I have that video as well. Check it out, y'all. Hold on. Hold on, hold on.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. I
Get
want
to the
everybody to have
video,
a
bro.
full understanding. I just hate that now the mouse want to act funny on me. Come on now, mouse. There we go. Stand by, y'all. Okay, now this is the following press conference. First, I give you the Wisconsin coach and his explanation.
Okay.
You only have 4 seconds to get the ball across half court. Okay, the official comes over to me and says, Greg, if you take a timeout, you'll get a full 10 seconds. There was 15 seconds on the game clock left. Okay, I had all the reserves in. Okay, I was not going to put them in a position when the ball had already got knocked out of bounds to have to break a press in 4 seconds when they're coming cold off the bench. So I took a timeout, which I'm allowed to do, obviously, and brought them over and tried to get them organized. They haven't all been on the floor in pressure situations before, and I want to give them the best chance to have success coming up the floor and tell them we're not going to shoot the ball. All we're doing is getting the ball, break the pressure, come up, and we'll dribble out the clock. So we got the full 10 seconds to break that press instead of 4 seconds. So we were on the spot, we got organized, and that is the situation that he apparently was upset with.
Okay, so that is his explanation as to what transpired. We now will give you the opinions of one John Howard and what he said transpired in that whole melee. Here's his comments.
That the game got extended?
Oh yes, I was. You know, I didn't like the timeout being called, and I'll be totally honest with you. I thought it was, not necessary at that moment, especially being a large lead. And then for to have the timeout to be called with 3 seconds or 4 seconds to go, I thought that was, what I felt wasn't fair to our guys, and so that's what happened.
Just a follow-up, if you wanted the game to get done, why keep the press on against Wisconsin's backups at that point?
Oh, it wasn't a press. It was just 5 pressure defense, man-to-man. That's what 5 is for us.
What happens between being upset about a timeout being called and raising it to a point where it looked like you hit another coach in the face? What kind of happens in between to make that happen?
Well, basically, I addressed with the head coach that I will remember that because of that timeout, and of course, someone to touch me, and I think that was very uncalled for him to touch me as we were verbalizing and communicating with one another. So that's what ended up happening. That's what escalated it.
All right, and that is his opinion on what transpired. Now, the long and short of it is this. It all comes down to an unwritten rule that basically when your team is the team that's blowing out the other team and it's less than 30 seconds, you basically play it out, let the game end, and move forward. The Wisconsin coach kind of took exception to the fact that his team was playing pressure man-to-man defense. Juwan kind of took exception to the fact that he called timeout, so he basically could have 10 seconds to break the pressure so that way they could go down and basically dribble the clock out. At the time in the game, it was about 30 seconds left. They had taken out all their players on the Wisconsin side and put in the backups. They were already up about 15-16. It really didn't make any sense for the University of Michigan to put on that pressure because in the end, okay, let's say you get the ball. You hit a 3, you got 7 seconds up. You're still not winning that game, okay? So basically what he's saying is at that point, we might as well just go on here, call this timeout, since you guys aren't used to being out here on the floor. And that way we'll go ahead and break the press because we'll have the whole court to do it with. And once we do that, we'll get past half court and end the game. Now, the problem is that later on in that press conference for the Wisconsin coach, he mentioned that, maybe he perhaps did not know the rule. Understanding that Juwan Howard is a head coach, but a first-time head coach. Meanwhile, Coach Bard has basically been a coach his entire life. So his understanding of the rules from his understanding may be better than Juwan's in regards to that. So that's just some of the background with it. What's your thoughts, Hugh?
I looked at it and I feel like it was Bush League. They were already up by a lot. It wasn't even really necessary to even call the timeout. Just let the game play. Like you said, if they shot a 3 or whatever they did, it didn't matter because the game was already decided. And when we were just talking at first, when I seen that video, I've always heard it from, well, I actually didn't really hear it at the time. I just heard them two, or I've seen them two as they were talking to each other. It looked like it got heated. But I always seen Juwan Howard jerk back and make a swipe move and didn't know why. Now, when I seen that video, I seen it up close in person. The guy actually got up on him and tried to hem him up. And that's when he pushed off and said, "Don't ever touch me." And that's when things got heated. But it was like he took exception to that because he felt like it was a Bush League. And then the coach tried to retaliate. But then the putting the hands on him part, man, you can't look at it and think that Juwan was in the wrong for retaliating like he did. Yeah, he probably, when cooler heads prevailed, looked at it like he could have probably handled it a little better. But in the heat of the moment when you put your hands on a person, that's going to be their reaction regardless.
As my cousin says, keep your hands to your doggone self. But thank you for coming through, cuz I know sports ain't really your thing, but we appreciate you for stopping by and having your say so in regards to everything. Like I said, I'm gonna go into it a little deeper when I do my podcast. My new podcast, for those of you who are not aware, is going to be called The Problem I Have With. It will be an audio podcast, basically replace my previous Get Off My Lawn Live audio podcast. We will start doing that maybe even as early as this evening, and you will start to see the first 2 episodes sometime before Sunday. That is the way it goes when you put your hands on me, LOL. I mean, because bottom line, what Juwan is saying is, I was good. I had decided I'm not going to shake this guy's hand because I didn't like what he did. I had no problem with him discussing what transpired, but I had an issue when he put his hands on me. Now, that being said, he overreacted, okay? You are in the midst of a basketball game. You are no longer, as one of the talking heads said, on the south side of Chicago. You're not worried about this man putting his hands on you and harming you. You are 6'10", 260 some odd pounds. That man is a good 5'9", 5'10" at best. He wasn't going to do nothing with you. Now, granted, the person who you actually put your hands on, that guy was considerably taller. But again, you are significantly bigger than him. You should not have been concerned about him on that level. Now, my question to you, Hugh, is what did you think of the overall punishment?
I thought it was justified because regardless of the fact that he did put his hands on him, it seems like us as Black people in general, especially coaches, players, and personnel, you have to be a little different, man. You can't do a lot of the things that people expect us to do, man. I think that at the time he was upset, but like you said, those 2 guys didn't want none but Juwan Howard, man. And him doing that makes it hard on us regardless. But the suspension was justified, So, yeah, I definitely can't blame him for that. I felt like I was surprised that they didn't look into it like, yeah, he was going to be fired. You heard so many people, the Stephen A's and other guys was like, it's a possibility he could lose his job over that incident. But yeah, I feel like hopefully he can handle things better now because, like you said, he's not a basketball player anymore. You can't have that street mentality. You have to think as a coach, man. Think about how many kids would want to come and get recruited to the Michigan basketball, and possibly might defer and go to another school now because parents was looking at that too and saying, well, yeah, I just feel like that it's not necessary for my kids to go to college like U of M where the coach can't handle his temper, and not only that, but the other kids who got into the altercation with the guys in Wisconsin, it just got a little out of hand, and that could have easily been worse than what it was. I'm just glad that it was diffused, but at the same time, I think that more or less that Juwan have to think more like a player's basketball coach versus being a player and going out there and doing those heinous acts. And that's just my opinion.
I mean, bottom line, when you are a coach, whether you be a manager, coach, whatever the case may be, one of your primary jobs is to not only be a person in charge of the X and O's, but you are also a leader of men in that regard. And basically, your actions reflected on the other young men who you are in charge of. The whole reason why they reacted the way they reacted was because of what you did. If you basically would have dealt with it a little better, the rest of that incident as it went down would not have happened. We all know that. And of course, because there was concerns about how parents would view things and whatnot, the following statement had been issued in regards to this by Juwan. Juwan said the following, and I quote, "After taking time to reflect on all that happened, I realized how unacceptable both my actions and words were and how they affected so many. I am truly sorry. I am offering my sincerest apologies to my players and their families, my staff, my family, and the Michigan fans around the world. I would like to personally apologize to Wisconsin's assistant coach, Joe Carbonhoff, and his family too. Lastly, I speak a lot about being a Michigan man and representing the University of Michigan with class and pride. I did not do that, nor did I set the right example in the right way for my student athletes. I will learn from my mistake, and this mistake will never happen again. No excuses." Now understand, that was a prepared statement. I think that's why it took so long to them to announce what the punishment was, because they needed time to sit down with the people, that public relations folks, to say, okay, how should we craft this to where it all sounds right, and then put out this statement. I think in his heart of hearts, he did not completely feel that way, And if you notice in that apology, he apologized to the person who he actually slapped, that coach, but there was no apology to Coach Bard whatsoever, if you notice that. And in the end, remember, his suspension is a 5-game suspension for the rest of the regular season, which I felt was more than fair. He probably should have got more. They probably should have suspended him for the conference tournament too, to be honest. $40,000 fine, basically dropping the bucket for a man worth $90 million. And generally just a shame of knowing that he did that. That being said, I'm pretty sure also now, if they amend his contract, it probably will have a zero tolerance policy. So anything close to this that happens again will probably cost him his job and probably get him blackballed from coaching in college again. So he needs to be very careful in the future, particularly in the near future. Okay, hold on. Let me get this comment. Then you go ahead, Hugh. But he spoke from his heart. He may have crafted it himself. You don't have to. God is the final judge. Exactly. Yeah, go ahead, Hugh.
I feel like in this whole situation too that he definitely will learn, and it's a stepping stone for him. But you got to remember, man, you got to keep your temper at bay when you're being a coach, man, because so many people look up to you and they will duplicate what you're doing. Like the whole situation, once it got to the point where it got heated, that's when the player stepped in. You know, I just felt like it just made Michigan, not just basketball, but Michigan organization as a university look bad. And I'm just hoping, like you said, he learned from his mistakes, because you can't go out there doing that type of stuff, man. You need to discipline and, you know, show the kids what's right from wrong. And like because Marlo was saying, yeah, you know, in the heat of the moment, we make mistakes. We're not perfect. We're human. And hopefully he just learned from it and be able to move on and be a better man from it.
Okay, well, I got one more opinion that came up because, of course, they've asked many a coach about this since it happened. But I think one of the more interesting opinions that a lot of people broadcasted and talked about was what this man here had to say about it. I'm going to play this one for you, Hugh, then you let me know what you think in regards to these comments here. I'm pretty sure you all will recognize the following speaker. For those of you familiar with college basketball, here we go.
Understanding you might not want to get into this, but obviously a pretty significant event happened yesterday in Wisconsin. Just as a long-time coach in this league, what was your reaction, I guess, watching that happen?
Well, you're right. I don't want to get into it, but I have to answer something on it. I was in my office. We had a little walkthrough practice, little film session, because guys are tired, and I was meeting with my 3 freshmen, ironically, and I sat down and we're talking, and Mike Garland came running in and said, "You're not going to believe what's going on." And he told me a little bit, and I didn't even get out of my chair because I really didn't care. I was worried more about my team and my players. So I just said, "Yeah, I'll see you later." "No, you got to come see this. You won't believe it." And I said, "I'll see you later." I never left. And so about a half hour later, I went out and they showed it to me on the phone. And I just couldn't see as much. I didn't know as much. And I never know what happens because, you know, there's so many things that go on that you guys don't know. And what I've been through the last 4 or 5 years, I'm not jumping anything. But the only thing I would say is it was bad for college basketball. What we're hoping to do at this time of year, you know, with football going so much later than normal, you know, the Super Bowl is later. It seems like every year, pretty soon the Super Bowl is going to be at Easter, you know what I mean? And it was the first weekend of no football and a chance for basketball to take the limelight. And it was a scary situation. The reason for it all, what I saw, I have no idea. I just hope that everybody learns from it, it gets better, and I guess it gave me a point when we met that night to reiterate to my players just how important it is to not get involved in anything. Forget the suspensions. I'm more worried about the injuries, you know, and what happens to players. And didn't look good, but unlike a lot of people in the world, I'm not going to comment on something I don't know anything about.
All right, your thoughts, Hugh?
I feel like he seen what happened and he probably didn't like what happened in the scenario, but he looked at it and just took a step back and said, well, I don't know all the information that led to it, but I feel like it was a disgrace for basketball. And yeah, you're right, man. Was nothing on at the time. We finished with football. I think he kind of took a jab at the NFL when he said, hell, that it might not be the Super Bowl might not be till next Easter. Yeah, it has been getting pushed back farther than we would like. But yeah, man, I just feel like he looked at it and he voiced his opinion and he was saying, I can't worry about that. I got to focus on getting my guys together. And that's how a lot of coaches probably thought about it. You know, people probably shamed Juwan behind his back and said a few things that wasn't necessary, or, you know, probably looked at him being a black male coach and probably said, well, you know, he was a player and he should know better, but he overstepped his boundaries. And you know, you're going to still get a lot of talk and speculation. But coming from Izzo, I understand if he said he can't really focus on that in hand. He just wants to focus on his guys. But yeah, he didn't know a lot about it, and he just basically wanted to just say, "Hey, I didn't like what happened. It was a disgrace for basketball." But at the same time, I don't know all the information to even really speculate.
Now understand, after those comments, if you go to that particular video on YouTube, there are many comments for all three of those videos that I showed you guys. Many of them in regards to the rivalry itself. A lot of Sparty, see Michigan, no class, and yeah, Sparty, you mad, and you know a lot of that was said back and forth. But of course, some people did go as far as to mention, well, you know, he was with the Fab Five, and you know they wasn't up but thugs and stuff anyway. So I'm not surprised he went there. There's a lot of commentary in regards to this. Right now, actually, Michigan should be playing at the moment. We're gonna check the scores in a moment, but it's gonna be really, really interesting if next week when Michigan State plays Michigan this time next week, how that game gonna play out, particularly if it's close or if something chippy happens. And it's gonna be even more interesting if Michigan actually does they'll go to the Big Ten tournament, obviously. But what happens when and if they play Wisconsin at any point in that tournament? What is that game going to be like?
It's gonna get real ugly, man. I'm hoping that they take a step back and realize that it was bad for college, just bad for sports in general. I just hope that they know how to act and handle a situation better next time rather than letting it escalate and get out of hand and feeling like that bad blood boiling over and it can escalate into even a bigger incident in the tournament.
Right. And see, that is why you had to punish him. And like I said, that's why I felt like he probably should have got punished more, because that's the thing that Coach Izzo mentioned that a lot of people did not talk about. What if somebody had got seriously hurt in that melee? What if he did, you know, grab that guy and, you know, didn't grab him right and hit him in the eye and poked his eye out or something like that, to where that man is now injured and missing his livelihood? That most definitely probably would have cost him his job. And then also that would have put a black eye on the sport. Like, see, that's why, you know, college basketball with all those black guys and blah, 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 blah. You already know how that would have played out in some people's household. So I completely get what he's saying by that. I mean, he did choose his words carefully, obviously, because one, that's a rival, two, that's an in-state rival, and three, they all are trying to basically recruit the same players for the most part. So he wanted to go there without going there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I definitely understand. You're right, because to hear a lot of the backlash that the Michigan State people were saying, and to hear what people have to say, and to say how he was not showing any class and he had uncharacteristic behavior as a thug. You know, it was a lot of that stuff went on in the past that we've known about. And, you know, it was hard for Michigan with the Fab Five. All the stuff that I seen, I wasn't aware of until I actually saw the documentary. And it was hard to bear and look at. But I just feel like your cousin said, man, you know, forgiveness and reconciliation is
well,
the
you
way.
already know, Hugh, from our discussions over the years, I feel a little differently about that whole Fab Five thing. Remember, I was the guy that went down to the school down the street during that time. So I knew those guys. I played with those guys. I hung out with them a little bit. I don't feel like they were always portrayed correctly within the document, between the documentary and other things. It was more to that story than the story was told. Let's put it that way. But we'll leave it at that for now. We don't want to spend the whole show on this one particular incident, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to give everybody a more thorough background of what was said and how it was said and that part. For the rest of it, tune in to my podcast, y'all. I will post it on the Nighthawk Network page when it is ready, and y'all let me know what you think at that point. But let's move on with the show. What you got next, Hugh?
I wanted to go with what was going on in the MLB right now, and it's getting to the point where it's getting out of hand, with the negotiation. MLB and the Player Association, the last meeting they had lasted maybe just around 5 minutes. They have to get it together, man, because if they don't get an agreement together soon, I believe that the season is going to be in jeopardy, and we're going to lose a lot of games because they got to get something done. If I'm not mistaken, like by February the 25th, I was hearing was like their deadline.
Well,
and
what it boils down to, excuse me, Hugh, didn't mean to interrupt you, but what it boils down to is basically if they don't come to an agreement by Monday, that's when we start to lose regular season games. Understand, we could shorten the exhibition season. That's not really a big deal. So let's just say they figure it out tomorrow. You basically can get everybody else that's down there in Florida. Keep in mind that a lot of the players are already down there anyway in little mini camp type situations, and you can get the ball rolling by the end of next week. But if they don't get it together by Monday, it said that at that point, that's when we get to missing out on regular season games. And what it boils down to is that
My bad.
Oh, that's you. Okay. What it boils down to is that basically every day missed by the players is going to cost them collectively $20 million a day. And that's just for the players. That's not counting the owners who are probably missing out on even more money than that when you think about the TV deals and naming rights and all that type of stuff. So, yeah, they definitely got to get that cracking and soon.
I think that right now that's what's holding up a lot, man, because Hot Stove hasn't been really interesting like it normally is.
Not at all.
The big time deals, they're in the winter meetings, they're in like Florida, somewhere in a hot climax, and every now and then you'll hear some crazy news, and it'll be like you be in there or you'll be listening to your TV, and they're like, well, okay, Freddie Freeman hasn't come up with a deal with Atlanta, and you have a team right now who came up to the forefront and is interested in his service. And they'll be like, well, who's the team? And they'll be like, well, the front runner is the New York Yankees. You'll hear something like that, Ian, and next thing you know, it could be like 10 minutes later, man, Atlanta signed a deal with them. A lot of times when you hear stuff like that on Hot Stove, even if it's just a rumor, a lot of those teams get scared when they hear a rumor, man, and they don't want it to be true. So they'll retaliate so fast. And we hear so much fast reactions when Hot Stove come about with the free agents that it makes baseball really good around this time. It makes it relevant, and it makes it exciting getting into the regular season. And when these teams retool and get themselves like championship caliber teams on paper, it's pretty good to see. But right now we haven't had anything. It's been really slow motion. We can't do anything until they finish with the lockout. And if they lose some games, I don't think it'll really affect too much due to the fact that they do play 162 games. I think if we still got like 120, 110 games, we'll still be satisfied with that. E, what are your thoughts?
Well, we all know, just like they're trying to expand the NFL season, they probably need to shorten the MLB season, and truthfully probably the NBA season too, somewhere down the line. Way too many games. But the long and short of it is, I think there's a number in each of both the players and that. Shout out to everybody joining us on Instagram Live, by the way. We see you guys. Nice Cat, X Bar, Marley, Double X, Alonzo Rose, what up, cousin? Nice Cat, what's going on? That would be our dude, Pride Hunter. What's going on, right? But yeah, I think in their mind, they're saying, okay, I'm willing to give up this much. but I need this and this to be in this contract. So my guess is if we don't have nothing by Friday, yeah, we're gonna lose some games. How many, we shall see.
I think one of the biggest things they wanted to fight for was, like you said, they didn't want to get locked in those 10-year contracts. They wanted more like a 6-7 year contract to where they can get their contract and then still go out on the free agency and go out on the free agent market and still be young. You don't want to be like a guy like a Mark Teixeira who went to the Yankees when he was 31, and then out of his contract, he probably either retired with the Yankees or the Yankees have his rights and they can flat out release him because he's too old or might not have the same tools and the athleticism he used to have. That's unfair to those guys because when you put them in a contract that long, some of them have like a 9th year opt-out clause. But how many guys are going to make it through that? Besides like your Alex Rodriguez when he got his first big contract when he was the age of 19.
Yeah, well, okay. Poco daughter joining in. Hey, Poco daughter, I see you. Look, what it boils down. Yeah, Road off Freight, you did Mr. Juwan Howard discussion. Sorry about that. But what it really boils down to is you look at the service of your average major league ball player. Average major leaguer plays about 4 years in the big leagues. If you are stuck on that first contract where you can't really do nothing to year 5 and 6, and then you're dealing with arbitration and all that, you really don't get but one big contract. They basically want to set it up like they see in some of the other leagues. They're taking a little role from each of them. They look at like the NFL where basically they want to set up something similar to how they got with the franchise tag. Okay, basically, if you want to hold me like that, you can franchise tag me, but you got to pay me what the top 5% of people that do what I do make. That way, I'm all right with it. They're also looking at the NBA where you got the super max deals where basically, okay, you give me a super max deal as the team that drafted me, but basically you can't hold me no longer than 5 years and you got to pay me the super max. They want something along those lines.
I definitely understand that too, because that's the thing. They just don't want to be held hostage, man. They feel like they've seen it happen too many times before in the past. And I think it's kind of shady too when you got that type of money like the MLB to flat out say, we're not going to pay the minor leaguers in spring training. How come? When they never got the good end of the bargain. They definitely should pay those guys. And I don't like the fact that they're trying to minimize the guys who come up from the minor leagues because they know they got to pay more money too. Because as soon as they go up, that's when they get that good money. So I think they're trying to restrain a lot of that and keep some type of say so. But I still feel like if they don't get that together and to the player satisfaction, I wouldn't be surprised if we get like 100 games, maybe less.
I basically say that ain't neither one of these two sides gonna get what they really want out the deal. They basically want to get some of what they want, and they'll just accept the rest. I think that's what that boils down to, and I think we get to that point sometime in the next 30 days. I say worst case scenario, we start baseball May 1st at the very worst. Carry on, Hugh. What you got now? What you got?
All right, man. I wanted to talk about your boy Javaris Landry, man. He might be a cap casualty come in the NFL free agency. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that he still have enough in him to be able to go to a team and succeed? I think that he was basically in a situation where he was set up to fail with, Baker Mayfield. And I was a Baker Mayfield advocate, man. You seen how I was protesting for him and feeling like he was going to be better this year. Yeah, he got hurt, and I think he came back too soon. That was part of it. But I've never felt like he was really able to develop after his rookie year. He did okay that second year, but going into like his third year, he didn't really show much. And that's why the team really not reaching out to him to give him that big contract yet. So do you think that Jarvis Landry will be better off just going to another team? He loves it in Cleveland, but he feels like the money he makes might be his exit out of Cleveland organization.
What team out there is willing to overpay for Jarvis Landry? Somebody that's basically scored, 2-3 touchdowns a year the last couple of years? I can see a team like the Lions stepping up and saying, oh, yeah, we want you, because they need a number one receiver. We know that. It's probably a couple other ones, but for the most part, the market for Jarvis Landry ain't out there like that. Unfortunately, because of what happened in the Super Bowl, your boy, he won't be getting as big a market as he was looking forward to because of
OBJ.
the injury. I mean, because right now you got to look at him like a Glass Joe type situation.
Yeah.
Every time we start to get it to where we can involve you, now suddenly you hurt again. And these last 5 years, you've been hurt. Keep in mind, Jarvis Landry is close to that 30 age. 30 is the magic number in the NFL. Once you get to that, everything usually goes downhill, unless, of course, you're one of those quarterbacks. They have a different shelf life than other NFL players. But, yeah, I don't see it. It's probably a market for Landry, but everything being everything, he's probably better off staying in Cleveland. And then if basically the season don't start out well, try to do what his boy did and demand a trade.
I don't even know if he'll be able to do that, because they're definitely saying that he'll be a cap casualty. So I'm thinking now that the money that he's earning, they don't think he deserves. So, yeah, he might be on the outside looking in. So it's a possibility he might get released before that free agency really began. And that'll give him a chance to at least try to go on and, go attach onto a contender. You never know. He just might need to change the scenery, and it just don't seem like in Cleveland he's been getting his due diligence. He hasn't had really the best quarterbacks or the best organization as far as receiver-friendly type quarterbacks. So, yeah, I definitely can see a market out there. I don't think they're going to overpay for him, though, because right now, you're right. Once you start getting that 30 and the wrong end of 30, that's when a lot of the injuries happen. And with him, he hasn't really been constantly healthy over the last few years. So, yeah, that definitely might hurt him in his market.
Well, you also got to remember, we still got to figure out what Cleveland going to do with Baker Mayfield. It's about time for him to sign his extension and see what type of money he's looking at. Bottom line, that very well may be. Yeah, I mean, you already know Jarvis Landry should be the number one receiver there. Although they do got Peoples Jones, who's one capable, So who knows how that all plays out? He may just be waiting to see what they do with Baker.
Okay.
Oh, to answer your question, by the way, Ro, yeah, Michigan State, they got blew out, baby. They got blew out. They lost by a good 20-something to Iowa. Iowa whitewashed them, particularly in the second half.
Yeah, it didn't look pretty at all, that game.
Yeah, it was ugly.
Back on to what we were discussing. Devontae Adams, man, he hasn't had a contract discussion since the last month, man, at the end of the season. Do you think that his impact is going to be tied to whatever goes on with your man, who they call the best player right now in NFL at the quarterback position? That's Aaron Rodgers.
Well, he is a back-to-back MVP, but everything being everything, I think they franchising Adams, okay? Bottom line, unless they have a very good inkling that Aaron Rodgers not coming back, and if you look at his Instagram post yesterday, that will give you some type of inkling that it looked like he's leaning toward not doing so. But I think as a bargaining chip, they will say, yeah, we got to keep Devontae Adams by any means necessary. Let's put this franchise tag on him that way. Aaron got to at least be like, well, I guess I should have gone back with my boy. But all that being said, the ball is in Aaron's court, period. I think he already made up his mind, truth be told, but time will tell.
Besides re-signing Aaron Jones, man, you got to think about Aquemini St. Brown and Valdez-Scantling and Lazard. There's a lot of guys on there whose contract is up right now. I don't think they're really fancy names, but they're, already implemented in the organization, and they know what's going on there. They know the playbook, and they might be able to give him a better chance. But at the same time, if you got rid of some of those guys and brought in some new blood and more gifted wide receivers, or at least think about going through the draft or free agency, that could be something that'd be said that'll lure him in. But after last year, it seems like some of the anger and the disagreements and the things that he had with the organization has been patched up, and he showed a lot of love and appreciation for him when he got his MVP. But I still feel like it still kind of feel like that whole situation with Tom Brady when he was really happy, or he said nothing but nice things and he moved on. I really feel like it's time for Aaron Rodgers to move on and find or do what's best for him. Because all the time when he was upset about different things and how other quarterbacks and how people were treating their star player in the organization, he didn't feel like he got that same type of treatment. Definitely after a back-to-back MVP season, I think now it's time for him to either figure I'm gonna retire or I'm gonna do what's best for me right now. And it's all I feel like that he should do right now is before he make a decision, you got to do what's best for you. You can't think about anybody else but yourself because at the end of the day, yeah, it's a team sport, but then you're an individual and you got to definitely see through with your goals.
Well, all that being said, I still don't think he's gonna retire. I think he's just gonna move on to the next place, and I think he knows what that next place is. He just waiting for certain things to play out. But going into the whole retirement thing, the story also came out this week in regards to Thomas Brady and saying that part of why he retired was his relationship with Coach Arians over there in Tampa Bay. What do you think of that?
I heard about that, and I knew when him retiring like he did, I knew something was wrong because it seems like earlier in the season he was happy with what was going on and what they were doing. What I heard is too, and I read up on it when Arians was out, getting the surgery on his Achilles injury. Westbrook and Tom Brady was thinking of all the game plans and coaching up everything that they were going to do when they played the games. So they'll already have everything situated and say, okay, we got all the game plans for the games, and we're going to put in whatever extra that we feel like to be favorable for us in the matchup. But they said when Bruce Arians came back and he was recovering like he did, he'll look and see what their game plan was. If he ain't like it, he'll get the red pen and start Xing out stuff. And I think that didn't suit well with Byron Leftwich and Tom Brady. That's why when they were saying that Byron Leftwich was going to try to get that Jacksonville Jaguar job, it made a lot of sense now that I heard that. And when I read that article, and I said, man, he was, burning bridges with a lot of those guys. And I think they said basically in so many words, the honeymoon stage for Tom Brady and Bruce Arians was over. So I think that's why they said that he retired. So many people are talking crazy talk like he retired and he's going to go back to another team. I don't see that happen. And I feel like he did what he did right now at the perfect time because I heard now he's going to be producing a movie in a theater of his, and he's going to star and direct in it and his clothing line. So I don't think that he really have any intentions of coming back.
I truthfully don't think that he will. Like I said, it will be a very interesting circumstance that would cause him to do so. And of course, he'll have to work in coordination with the Buccaneers at that point. And I don't know if they'd be willing to accommodate him to that degree, particularly if it's somewhere in the division. So yeah, I am kind of curious to see, how long we have this whole thing play out. It kind of give me the whole Brett Favre vibe all over again with how that went on for the first year or two after he tired for real. So we may be playing that game for a while. Who knows? But yeah, what else you got for us, Hugh?
The whole situation right now with the Carolina Panthers, man, it seemed like it's sad to me because I definitely felt like Sam Darnold was getting another chance of redemption. But every time I turn around, they're saying something that's demoralizing this kid, man. It can hurt somebody's confidence. I've seen the whole thing happen with Tua Tagovailoa when they were having the rumors about Deshaun Watson, which I definitely will be briefly talking about as well. Because the Carolina Panthers reached out to Minnesota Vikings trying to pursue a trade with Kirk Cousins.
Mm-hmm. I mean, bottom line is they not happy with the production that he got out of Kirk Cousins in the last couple of years, particularly remembering that he is the first quarterback that basically got guaranteed his entire contract. They definitely expected more of a playoff-worthy Kirk Cousins. We basically get regular season Kirk and then round one and out. It's very similar to the whole Matthew Stafford situation before he went to LA and did what he did. So I'm not surprised that they at least inquired about it. But all things being said, the Panthers don't have just a quarterback problem. They have other issues as well. They need to address those as well. bottom line, you got to set Sam Darnold up to succeed. If you don't do that, then there's only so much he'll be able to do. He's that kind of quarterback. He don't have no specialty gifts like some of these people like Deshaun Watson or Jackson, or basically no huge arm like your boy Herbert or Mahomes. You basically got to set him up like typical quarterback A, running game and wide receivers and tight ends and such, decent defense to work behind. Otherwise, I think you don't get the maximum potential out of him or any other quarterback you bring in there unless you get one of those special ones.
Speaking of too, with all that being said, Deshaun Watson was one of the names that was brought up too, as far as the Carolina Panthers trying to still make a trade with. We know what's going on with him right now, and his situation with the whole, massaging and being too overly aggressive with the women. It seems like it's unfortunate. I don't really know what's going on with that, but it's not looking too good, man. This 9 ladies are willing to talk about that in court and make that discussion clear. And it might be some repercussions because now the NFL is looking into it, and we don't know where he stands right now. So he's still at a standstill when it comes to being traded or even going on another team right now until that lawsuit and everything is resolved. And we still have questions of whether he'll be able to be traded and land to another team.
I mean, when all is said and done, what it's boiling down to is they're saying that most of the cases against him are probably not as valid, but the ones they're finding the most validity in, they want him to come in and do a deposition on behalf of those cases to basically give his side of the story. Keep in mind, this is a civil case at this point. There have been no criminal charges whatsoever filed against Deshaun Watson. This is strictly trying to work this out to where the victims are compensated for what happened. In other words, you can look at it one of two ways. One, this is somebody who has done these horrible things and he needs to pay for what he's done. Or two, this is all a money grab by these ladies and they basically trying to run them pockets right quick.
Kind of remind me of the whole situation, what was happening in Dallas, man. I didn't really talk about that last week. That was something I definitely wanted to touch upon. And it was just a shame, man. One of the guys, the higher up guys, he was doing like dirty deeds, like where he was sneaking. Well, he snuck into the ladies' locker room and was trying to use his phone and take videos. And he was doing all types of crazy things of that nature. And when you get caught doing things like that, it's totally different. But right now, we don't really know what's going on with Deshaun Watson. Just hopefully we can get to the bottom of it and see what happens. Hopefully he'll still have a playing career after that. But that being said, the NFL Combine is going with the unbubble now. They're going to be unbubbled to where the players can do a lot more than what they were doing before. Because, they had a little bit more strict to where most of them only came out to do the interviews and the workouts and, do the things that they needed to do. But it was to the point where 150 of the prospects, basically their agent said, if you don't get them out of this bubble, then we're going to boycott and we're not doing anything for you. We'll just focus on doing what we need to do to succeed in our pro day. How do you feel about them now deciding after these words were being said and the prospects agents were saying that they're willing to boycott, and now that the NFL wants to work with them and say, you know what, we just going to, bring it back to how it was in the past with everything going on with COVID?
I mean, well, bottom line is COVID is still very much a part of what we got going on. It's still at least 60 to 80,000 people per day across America catching COVID-19, at least 1,000 people a day dying from COVID-19. So you can't just completely ignore all the protocols. As you see, they have said they have a willingness to work with it. The main issue was the fact that, in this bubble was only going to be the athletes themselves. Their trainers, there are people that help them work out, their specialists. They weren't going to be allowed in the bubble. And that is why it was an issue with certain agents in particular. Keep in mind, the 150 is not so much the matter. It's the fact that some of the major people that were going to be part of the combine were not coming. And that's what made it to where they had to at least say, yeah, we're going to have to do this different. Because remember now, the combine is different than it was 5-10 years ago. It's a televised event. It's ESPN sponsored and all this other stuff. You're losing out money if you don't have no combine that has all the major players in it. So that is why they had to make these concessions, because in the end, they need the money to keep flowing. They're trying to make the NFL not only a all-season type thing, but an all-year type thing in terms of the draft and the combine and anything else related, the award shows, the ESPYs. They're basically trying to keep the NFL money going 24/7, 365. This is one of those things. So they had to work it out with them. They ain't had no choice.
Yeah, I feel like too, man, and we've been talking about it a while now. At one point, man, when I was here at home and I had a job where I was getting off real early, like working like a 4 to 1, man, I was actually like I was one of them coaches, man. I see some of the guys in the combine, I'll grade them and I'll say which team I felt like would be best to go to them and who should look and seek after some of those guys. And a lot of that I feel like is overrated because we talked about it before, like the John Rosses who had a really fast, 40 time, and some of these quick guys in the 40, man, they might have the speed, but I just don't think that it translates to the NFL with running routes and running crisp routes. They always felt like DK Metcalf was a one-trick pony. And that's why he went so late in the rounds. Yeah, he looks good when he can get you on the deep route, but he's not really succeeding when it comes to like a 5 yard or a post route or a slant. It don't seem like he suit that well. And everybody who was thinking that he was a one-trick pony, it started to seem like when they played, when Seattle played other teams, that's what they did. They hard pressed him with the Jalen Ramsey or some of the better cornerbacks, and it seemed, he'd be silent. I don't know why. Every time when he plays the big guys or like in the big games against cornerbacks like the Jalen Ramsey, et cetera, he just disappears. He does not show up. And I'm not saying that's the case that he may be a one-trick pony. I just don't feel like he stands up and he really embraced the competition. So that's what I look at with the combine. I feel like, when you do your pro day, I'm just as impressed with that because now that's getting more exploitation. They putting that out there. It's being exploited more where you can stay on ESPN. You even get them on NFL Network now. So it doesn't really matter to me about what's going on at the combine. But like you said, ESPN and everybody across the world is trying to televise it. So that's why I think it's important for most of the guys who will show up or be there, definitely making it to the point where they take it out of the bubble.
Yeah, I think when all is said and done, the draft's not the exact science anyway, so there's that. But actually, one of the things that I wanted to talk about in terms of draft, considering that we do have a new football league emerging, that being the USFL, and they are currently doing their drafts, I really found it interesting as to how they chose to do them. What they're doing is, in terms of draft, they're basically not drafting in terms of rounds per se. They're drafting in rounds by position. So the first position that they drafted was quarterback, and the first couple rounds were a quarterback draft. Then the next couple rounds were the offensive linemen. The next few rounds were wide receivers. I found that kind of an interesting way to do that. What did you think about that, Hugh?
I think that is intriguing because that might change the format of some people war rooms, man, in the NFL. We like the fact that when we see things that are different because it elevates and it makes you think different. It makes people think outside of the box. So that was really a pretty good concept to do that. And it's creative. And whenever you have an innovative strategy or decision like that, it's a copycat league, whether it's the NFL or in college, man, people are going to take that and they're going to take note and they're going to definitely put their war rooms in that whole position and they're going to focus on it like that. Whatever's their need, they focus on that during that round, which makes sense. I actually think that's pretty interesting.
Now, here's the thing I find intriguing. In the end, if they choose to basically play the USFL and stylize the contracts to where, okay, you're in the USFL, you can't go play nowhere else. So whatever the contract you sign, that's it. But if they play it to where, okay, we're going to try to use this as more of a feeder league so that in the event that some of you are deemed worthy enough to make it to the NFL, we will allow you to bypass your USFL contract and go into the NFL. That would be interesting. What would be even more interesting is, remember, we talk about the combines and all that. Now, the draft, if I remember correctly, NFL is what, like early April?
Yes.
Was that correct, Hugh? Remember, the USFL season starts what, mid-April. So the question is, what happens when, okay, everybody gets drafted and whatnot, and then there are those who don't get drafted? Does the USFL at that point turn around and say, okay, we're going to have like a whole free agency season for this first week or two? You know, basically anybody that didn't get drafted by the NFL, come on in and try out, and we'll see if we can add you to the roster. I think that would be very intriguing if it went down that way.
Yes, but you know what's wrong right now? I don't know what's going on. I don't know why this happened, but the rich keep getting richer. I was looking at something, and we were all saying before, and this happened right around the time we saw that whole situation with the USFL. It wasn't even like a few days ago where the XFL and the NFL now merged. They have some type of situation where they're working with each other now. At first, we thought it was going to be the XFL and the CFL, but now that I heard that XFL has a little bit to do with the NFL, and Dwayne Rock Johnson and the people who are with the XFL are trying to link up and get together with the NFL, I thought that was very interesting. And I said, is this because of the USFL is coming out right now? What made them make that decision and make it so soon?
The answer is yes. Plus, I'm sure the intrigue of working with The Rock, who basically is making money hand over fist right now. Do you realize that Dwayne The Rock Johnson is worth over $800 million?
Man, that's incredible.
And of course, in the last 3 years, he has made the most money of any actor in the world. So when you consider that and some of the things he could possibly do in terms of cachet, I mean, because think about it, owning your own team is one thing, but owning your own league is something entirely different.
And it's crazy too, because at one point I think he was when he was younger in college, man, he only had $7 in his pocket in his name, and he said that at the time he knew he was what he had to do to make it. And look at this man now, $800 million, man, that's not even imaginable for me, man. I couldn't even believe having that type of money. I don't even dream about it right now.
And now it's probably to the point where the fact we even mentioned his name probably made him an extra $5. So, you know. Yeah, but that being said, before you go on here, I kind of want to update people on some of the scores we got. As y'all know, the NHL just basically started back a couple of days ago due to the All-Star break. And NBA not back yet. They don't start till tomorrow, but we do got college basketball going on this evening, y'all. Let's give you some of the top 25 scores. For the men, number 7 Duke is playing UVA. That's a featured game on ESPN. They are winning 47-42 in the middle of the second half. You got Texas at number 20 playing TCU. They are losing by 8 right now in the second half. You got number 14 ranked Houston 16-16. Later on this evening, you're going to have Mississippi and Auburn, LSU and University of Kentucky ranked number 6, and the infamous Wisconsin team playing their first game since the incident against Minnesota. Okay, for the women's side, we got some good matchups tonight.
Wait a minute. I have to hit you with an audible on this one.
What you got? What you got?
I got the women's for you.
Okay, go ahead, man.
All right. Marquette got blew out 25-51 by your Lady Huskies.
Wait a minute. That's the final score?
22-30 over, huh?
That's the final score?
Yeah, it was nasty.
No, that's not the final score, Hugh.
It's not?
I got 54-25 with 9.5 to go on.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. 9:27 left. I don't know why I said in the game on my end. Okay, now I refresh. My bad.
Okay.
Baylor up on 42-33 against Oklahoma State.
That's a good game right there.
Longhorns are up 34-23 at the half.
All right.
Oklahoma is up on TCU 51-25 at the half.
That's a route.
I was straight up 29-18 at the half, or actually in the second with 6:08 to go. And
Okay.
Oregon and Carolina play. Oregon and Colorado plays later on, which I want to talk about Oregon too when we get a chance. We'll get back into that soon because I want to say the best for last.
Okay, so yeah, we got some games going on tonight, y'all. So after the show, if y'all want to check out some good college basketball, we definitely getting close to that time of the year where we get into conference tournaments and whatnot. So if you want to figure out who's your team and who you might bet on in them brackets and all that, this is a good time to check them out. All right, what else you got for us, Hugh?
Okay, the NBA All-Star break, man. Do you think the All-Star weekend is a waste of time now, man? Because before when we used to watch it in the 80s, I felt like they played a little bit more and they had more pride. They basically was more like East West, and they wanted to basically stake their claim on what was the best conference in the best division. Now it's like they pick the teams. It don't matter if you're on the East or West. I did think that was actually kind of cool doing that. The team LeBron and Durant or whoever were the teams that they played against. But do you think that is actually worth watching now? Because I used to look forward to even when an All-Star break or the All-Star game wasn't that good. I always had me a good skills competition and a 3-point competition and a dunk contest. But it wasn't as good this year. I actually didn't watch a lot of it and didn't really too much care for it. The one thing I was intrigued with was the Steph Curry hit like 16 threes in the game. But at the same time, with the lack of defense in those games, it didn't really still feel relevant. It seemed more like it was tainted.
Long and
How do you
short
feel
of it
about
is, the game itself was decent. I saw a good part of it. It wasn't bad. I mean, it's always been All-Star games where they didn't have no defense necessarily, so I
that?
ain't tripping on that. They actually did play a nice little bit of defense at the end of the game. That shot that LeBron hit to win the game, that was over a 6'8" and a 7-foot dude. That was rather impressive, actually. But in terms of the rest of the All-Star weekend, it was trash. They basically asked the talking heads about it. There was actually, I believe that was Colin Cowherd that said something that intrigued me, and I kind of agree with. There's only one way to really fix this whole All-Star game weekend. It's time to break out the money, y'all. It's time to break out the money. Here's the deal. Particularly when you look at things like that damn slam dunk contest that was ultimate trash. We know when we watch our NBA any given night, it's players in the league and they got like some impressive dunking skills, okay? They not necessarily even doing any spectacular dunks. It's just the power, the elevation, the ability to move around in the air and all of that. Those are the dunks we want to see. In the end, what do we do to motivate the Ja Morants, the Zion Williamsons, the LeBron James, the Russell Westbrooks to get in the dunk contest? What do? We whip out the money. NBA, much like the NFL, have many, many corporate sponsors. You mean to tell me you can't get somebody, particularly like one of those casinos, that would definitely have a stake in that to sponsor the slam dunk contest so that the winner gets some ridiculous amount of money, like $2 to $5 million? And yes, it's got to be a ridiculous amount because remember, these players already make $30-40 million. Some of these people that I mentioned. So you got to get it to where it's something that's going to wet their whistle a little bit. You most definitely can hit up MGM Grand Casino and say, can you sponsor this year's dunk contest? Winner get $5 million, loser get $1 million. And either that or be like, okay, make it $2.5 million. You get half, and then the other half goes to your favorite charity, your calling, and things of that nature. You make it to where that motivates them to want to do it. That definitely motivates you to want to see it. And not to mention, you, the casino, you make out because, of course, one of the most bet upon things in any situation throughout the year is the All-Star Game Slam Dunk Contest in terms of individual actual activity that people bet on. So if you make it to where it's worth some money, yeah, then that money gonna come flowing in through the betting books and whatnot. The money gonna come in terms of people saying, oh, that's who in it. So even your basic person ad be like, well, yeah, I know LeBron James because he always on TV. Oh, he in the dunk contest? Yeah, I want to see that. You basically want to get it to where we got the NFL now, where even though you're not a football fan, you still watch the game because it's the Super Bowl. You want to do that for the All-Star game. Once upon a time, as kids, we couldn't wait to see the MLB or the NBA All-Star game. Now they both like, that's how you get us back on track. Put some money on it.
The only good thing about the MLB All-Star Game is it's like you still got the two different conferences, National and American League, and whoever wins get the home field advantage now in the actual World Series. That's what makes them.
No, Hugh. I had to correct you on that. That is no longer the case. They
When
stopped that
they stopped that?
a couple years ago. I hate that they did because that was one of the things that definitely made it interesting.
All right, E, man, we ain't even gonna discuss that no more. I'm pissed off, man. You really see pissed off you on the show now.
Yeah, let's let Hugh calm down a little bit. I'm gonna call the audible and take the commercial break. We need to get at least one in. And when we come back, what we talking about, Hugh?
We're gonna talk about since you brought up Zion Williamson, I want to talk about an ex-teammate calling Zion out about his patterns of behavior and his lack of work ethic, man. And definitely want to get into that and figure your thoughts, because I'm looking at it now. It's like it's not really looking so good for that man. And we'll talk about a little bit more when we come back from the commercial break.
Yes, Zion, we're gonna have to get on you, bro. All right, this is Gametime Audible. I am E-Buck, the Nighthawk. That is Hugh Lee, the sports guru, and this is our show. And we will be back after these fine words from our people in the Nighthawk Network. Nighthawk Network presents Pastor Sean Love. Pastor Sean Love, devoted father and husband, a residing pastor at the River Ridge Bible Assembly in River Ridge, Michigan. Join him as he gives us messages from God's Word, Bible study, and encouragement. You can find him on YouTube under Sean Love.
Hello. It's another glorious day, my T-Sippers, and you know what time it is. I hope you have all of your comforts together because it's time to dish tea. And you're dishing tea, darlings, with Big Meat.
Can't wait. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat.
Darling.
Nikki. Let's talk. Let's talk. Nikki. Nikki.
We're not asking for your permission. We're not seeking your approval. We're claiming what's ours in the name of our ancestors. We are their answered prayers. This is more than a movement. This is a revolution. Black innocence. What are yours today?
Behind the Blue Curtain, Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Have you been scrolling Facebook and looking for that quick sports fix? Want a quick peek of what's going on in the latest sports news? Check out Pure to the Game Sports Blog with the sports guru, Hugh D. Lee. He'll get you together. Check it out. Follow it on Facebook. Make sure you like it. The views and or opinions expressed here on Gametime Audible is that of the host and or guests, and does not necessarily reflect those of the Nighthawk Network or its affiliates. Viewer and listening discretion is advised. All right, y'all, we are back. This is Gametime Audible. E-Buck in the building. Hugh Lee, the sports guru, in the building. We are talking what, Hugh?
About your boy and his lack thereof, Zion Williamson.
I cannot believe that man has not played not one game all year. I am just stunned by that.
I'm not even trying to throw him under the bus or nothing, but I feel like, man, he needs to lose about 40, 50 pounds, and he just needs to work on developing his game because I feel like he's explosive, man. He had a nice little small game, like perimeter shot, like a little hook. He was quick to grab rebounds, and he was a explosive dude to be his size. But just think about if he lost all that weight and played up to his potential. Right now, he's starting to remind me of Ohio State's own Greg Oden, man. And it's like,
no.
And I can really see him getting that way, man. He got to look at it himself and say, do I want to play in New Orleans or do I want out and do I want to go somewhere else? But at the same time, he got to work on him and work on his game and work on everything that he needs to do to be a better player. Because when you came in the NBA, you had a little size that you had to work on. You had to work on those things to become a better player. And I just don't feel like right now he even care. Because you could tell, because every time you turn around, he's not healthy. He's injured, and he's always have injury problems for the most part. And when he wasn't injured, he didn't even play 4 games because he was gassed, and they felt like that he couldn't go a full game. Man, that's just the utmost disrespect to your team and the franchise who put their all into you and put their number 1 draft pick into you and seen the future with you. They put the keys, they gave you the keys to their franchise. They put the keys right there in your hands, and I just don't think you're going to do nothing with it but waste it. I definitely felt like at the time, Ja Morant should have been number 1, and people were like, no, Zion was clearly number 1. Now, where is he now?
I mean, you got to look at some of these last number 1 picks, period. Think about it. You got Zion not doing much. You got Cade Cunningham, okay at best, but probably will finish 3rd in Rookie of the Year, if that. You got, who was last year? And let's move back a couple. You got Andrew Wiggins. He was a number 1 pick at one point. Do you even remember that? He playing okay over there in Golden State, but definitely expected more out of him than what we got.
Oh, absolutely.
You just kind of go down the line these last few years. Having a number 1 pick don't necessarily mean you. I mean, hell, remember Ben Simmons was a number 1 pick, okay?
Yep.
Marcus Fultz, remember that guy?
Yep.
He down in Orlando somewhere, being the number 1 pick and performing to your standards, that's a whole nother story. Everybody's not going to come out and be LeBron James or Shaquille O'Neal, Chris Webber, picks like that. But you at least should get some to where you got a perennial all-star, potential Hall of Famer one day. These last few years, I ain't even seeing much of that there.
Not at all. I feel like he's struggling with his weight, but he should try to get a nutritionist, man. He got all the money right now to where he can get a nutritionist. He can work out, get somebody that can give him the proper foods and the things he needs, train, work out, do the things he needs to do to burn. Like, man, I'm not even trying to be funny with you right now. You knew, and I know if we had the type of money he had, man, we wouldn't probably be our size right now.
I know I wouldn't, because I wouldn't be worried about nothing else. My stuff is, especially if all I need to do was work out and get better before I came back. That's my only job. I'm going to do that.
Yeah,
I mean, because remember, he ain't just dealing with the money he get paid from the Pelicans. He still got the Nike deal and all of that he ain't doing right by not playing. I mean, bottom line, I don't even think Oden is strong enough. I think when all is said and done, he may very well be the worst number 1 pick of all time if he keeps on like this.
I agree.
Michael Olowokandi, remember that dude?
Who?
Michael Olowokandi.
Michael with Candy, man. We really thought that Clifton squad was gonna be something special too, man, because they had Lamar Alden, what's my man's name? Darius Miles.
Yeah, didn't
They had
they had the human highlight film on that team, if I remember correctly.
yeah, they had a lot of dudes. They had a lot of talent over there, man. And we thought that they were really going to do better than what they did. And Darius Miles and Lamar Odom and all them guys, it seemed like they, and then Odom with Candy, they didn't do really much. Lamar Odom was the only one I feel like had a half decent career, but the rest of those guys didn't really do much.
Like I said, in terms of number one picks, I think the last decent one we had, I'm probably missing somebody. I'm thinking Carl Anthony Towns, who I
Yep,
actually
I
was
agree.
surprised won the 3-point contest, by the way. Did not mention that, but yeah, that was rather interesting.
Yeah, that definitely surprised me. Him being this size, him and Dirk was the only 7 footers to go in there, and really tear it up like that.
What's good, family? What's going on? We're
Yeah.
gonna see who that is in a moment. But yeah, Hugh, keep it going, man.
How do you feel about Goran Dragic getting to going to the Brooklyn Nets, man? It seemed like the rich get richer. Do you think that they just trying to hand them a championship right now?
Man, I was very shocked by that, to be honest. Remember, I came on last time we was on and saying that he most definitely was going to the Lakers. They made a complete liar out of me. Bottom line, something transpired to where that move didn't happen. But yeah, it's just like last year. Remember when there they go, they snatch up Blake. There they go, and they snatch up Aldridge. There they go, and they snatch up this guy and that guy. Brooklyn is an interesting place to be now. You know what I'm saying? But then the key is the fact that because all these mask mandates appear to be about to go away, that means that we stop getting part-time Kyrie and we get full-time Kyrie. So I really wonder if that move really benefits them in the end, because if Kyrie is back full-time, how much playing time you gonna get for Dragic? He may have screwed himself on that one.
He quite the veteran too, man. We know that when he played last year with Miami, man, he came off the bench and he made a difference. They'll probably treat him if it be a full time Kyrie Irving like how they did when James Harden was over there when he was with OKC. I think that's how they'll do that. They'll figure out a way to get him in and put him into their game plan. I think that's definitely something he'll do. Do I think it's a waste of time? Yeah, maybe at this point, because I feel like he would have got a lot more playing time over there in LA or any other team. But yeah, was just really surprised with that decision because I felt like out of all the teams, that wasn't really a team of need.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
they
truth be told, I'm just kind of surprised Miami didn't re-sign Dragic to begin with. He played real good between him and Jimmy Buckets over there. What's
yeah,
going
I was
on, Coach
surprised
B?
they traded.
We see you.
Definitely was surprised that they traded that man.
Hugh, it's Coach
What's
B.
up?
Acknowledge him.
What's up, man?
Acknowledge
How you
him.
doing, bro?
Play coach
I
like
want
that, man. What's wrong with
to. I want to talk about when I told you I was saying we're gonna save the best for last. You can't put me up on a challenge and think I ain't gonna go through and persevere, man. Shame on you for that, first and foremost. I want to talk about the NCAA women's basketball.
So this explains why we get so many basketball about the women. It wasn't supposed to be to where like you forget everything else, though. You dang. I appreciate that you finding the love. I appreciate that very much. But don't overdo it, bro. But yeah, come on with it. Let's see what you got.
Man, I'm gonna overdo it because you made me do it. You made this monster.
Oh goodness.
Haley Jones, man. When I seen how huge a game she had against Oregon, man, she took over. That was one thing I haven't seen from her. And like I said, I was watching the women's tournament last year, and I seen how good she was, but just never seen her mentally take over a game. And that game against Oregon, it was down the whole game. But for her to come out and play like she did, I've never seen her play like that before with that type of will, man. It got to the point where she was falling to the ground and even made a shot. And I said, man, whatever she shoot right now, everything's going to make it, man. She's going to make everything she throw up. And that's what she did. And to take that lead and to beat Oregon, that was actually a really interesting game. And I saw the highlights and just really seeing her step up and be the player that I know she can be.
Well, Oregon does have a solid squad, not quite as good as some of the squads they've had in recent years. But there are definitely a few players in college this year that stepped their game up and show that they can impose their will on both offense and defense. Haley Jones is being one of them. Somebody else you'll probably mention, Caitlin Clark, very much that type of player. You got the girls down there in South Carolina, Miss Leah Boston. She's a player much like that. You also have Hamlin there playing for Michigan, who at one point had 50 points in the game. So yeah, you definitely got some quality people in terms of the play. I mean, just overall in college sports, in terms of the women, you're getting a lot better overall play. There's a lot more camps being held, a lot more schools that definitely focus on women's athletics in general. And that is why you are starting to see a lot more of the parity going on in women's college basketball. Usually it was just those 4 or 5 teams that dominated, and all the rest of them just kind of played to get in the tourney, and good luck if you get to one of them teams. I don't think this is going to be that type of tournament this year, and that's part of why. Those Addies are balling out, says Coach V. The ladies are balling out. That's what he said. Absolutely. We hear you, Coach. We hear you.
I want to talk about your girl, Paige Beckers, man. She won't be returning during the regular season. Will she be ready for the playoffs?
Well, I basically have much to say in regards to that. We're going to keep it short, though. I keep up on the feeds and whatnot for UConn and whatnot, seeing I follow a lot of their media pages, and Paige Beckers actually has one of the bigger media accounts of any woman athlete in the country right now at the age of 20, just being a college player. But the update is that Paige has been practicing. The concern of coach and the staff is that they want her to be comfortable on the knee. They want her to play and not really think about it in these last couple practices, because she basically updates it every other day, which indicates to me that she very much wants to play. That's why she's putting this out here. That you see her playing in like a very soft cast, like kind of a sleeve almost over that knee. You see her in practice. She doesn't show any signs of or flinching or anything like that. She's playing as if herself. She's shooting very well. I'm very anxious to see her get back. And I think her teammates are as well. They know that they have a definite chance of being definite contenders in this tournament, with her on one side, with your girl AZ Foot on another side, with DeCharma and the bigs playing better in the last few weeks. It's looking real good. Tommy Jones checking into the broadcast. What's going on, Tommy? All right, hold on. Coach got a question for us. What do y'all think about Denard Robinson on Michigan staff now? That's basically one of those things that they cycle through the years. Some of the better players, they'll come back and they either be advisors or on the staff or whatnot. I'm not surprised by any of that. I kind of hated that Denard did not have the type of career that I thought he would have in the NFL. Yeah. Basically Jacksonville tried to make him a running back, and it worked to a degree, but pretty much after that, he just kind of was lost in the sauce. I wonder what type of shape he is in now. I think he probably was in his early 30s. Maybe he could get a USFL a try. I don't know.
That'd definitely be a good choice for him right now, because I feel like his NFL career got cut short. What's up, Tommy Jones? Too want to show love to my boy. Yeah, man. With Paige Becker, with that happening and her sustaining the injury she did, I'm just glad that she will be ready by the time the tournament come about. I believe they're going to be like a number 3 overall seed or something in that statute when it come out.
The way it's playing out now, they are currently ranked 7. So let's just say they finish out the regular season. There's one game, I believe, against DePaul they play later on in the week that might be kind of interesting. But for the most part, they got the Big East on lock. Actually, with their win tonight, they have clinched the regular season title. It's now about the tournament. So they'll probably get the first round bye, obviously, and play 2 to 3 games in the tournament. That'll give her some time to kind of get her feet wet and whatnot. Yeah. And I think that will get them the number 2 seed probably out there in the East or the Midwest. Bottom line is, whatever team plays them, they're going to have their hands full, okay? I say it's 2 teams in the country that probably can play them straight up. That one, obviously, is South Carolina. The other one is probably Louisville. Anybody else, they're going to have a problem if all of them is on all cylinders, okay? They got too many scores on that squad, and their defense has definitely turned up these last couple of weeks. Now that they're starting to get everybody back and healthy.
I definitely noticed too that how good they've been playing without her. Christian Williams, man, I had to give her props, man. I looked up and I said, man, she had like how many games? Like 19 games with a double-double. So yeah, that's something that I looked at and didn't really pay no attention. That's impressive on any level to have that many games consecutively with double-double. So yeah, big ups to her, man, and wish them well once the tournament time come along. I felt like when I was looking at one of the games that I saw, and it was incredible, man, because they were looking like Steph Curry and they were looking like Klay Thompson, man. Monica, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, Monica Chezinano and Caitlin Clark, man, together they had like 60 points, man. I think the Monica Chezinano chick scored like 31 and 10. And Caitlin had 29 and 8 assists. Do you think that them two having to score that much, man, that and the teammates didn't really show up? I think the highest person after that was maybe 10, 12 points. Do you think that they will be able to have a chance in the tournament, or you think that it'll be just too
They
much?
most definitely will have a chance. Keep in mind, the Big Ten is probably the hardest conference in terms of women's basketball in America right now. You got Maryland that's ranked. You got Michigan that's ranked. You got Iowa ranked. I believe it's another school that I'm forgetting in that. But yeah, for the most part, they got some very good squads there in the Big Ten, as well as the Pac-10. The Pac-10 also got several good squads when you consider Stanford and Oregon and even Oregon State doing a little something. UCLA usually have a good squad. So yeah, I think it takes, 2 or 3 good players can at least get you to the 16. Like Coach V is saying here, the young girl that plays for Michigan, I think Hamlin is the one you're talking about. She is pretty much a power forward for them, can carry them to the 16. I absolutely think that Michigan gets to at least the Sweet 16. But like I said, anybody coming up against a healthy UConn squad with Paige Beckers, they're going to have their hands full. They're going to be a problem, especially if Paige is showing that she is close to how well she played last year. Remember, she played most of last year hurt to begin with. Right after the end of that season, she had surgery on the other leg. So this may actually be the first time we get a fully healthy Paige Beckers at all. And that's real scary. That's very scary indeed. And do you know, Hugh, speaking of your women's basketball education, at one point in time, there was an AAU squad that had AZ Fudd, Paige Beckers, and Caitlin Clark on it. They all played together.
Man, I wouldn't even want to see that team, man. That wouldn't even be fair.
I wouldn't want to see that team either.
That'd beat a lot of men team.
They probably would. They probably would.
Yeah, that'd be definitely something interesting to see, man. I want to know too, E, as far as when it comes to the actual college women college basketball. Do you think there's a team out there that actually can beat #1 South Carolina? I actually seen them play finally for the first time, man. I was at work on Sunday, and they played Tennessee. Tennessee ain't no slouch, man, but then they have everything, E, man. I'm talking about they guards had speed. If you made a layup on the end and you was Tennessee, it'd be like 3 seconds later, they made a layup at the other end. That's how fast the transition was with them and them running the ball up court. Not only can they run and they got speed with the guards, they can shoot from range, they can grab rebounds. They're just a fundamentally sound team. It was really fun to watch them. And I enjoyed that game because at first it was kind of close, and then they just went from being close to just straight blowing out Tennessee, man.
I mean, bottom line, Tennessee got a good squad this year. But South Carolina, it's levels, okay? We got to start giving Coach Staley her flowers. Understand that she worked on the staff with Coach Oriemo in the last Olympics, and I'm thinking she's learned quite a lot from him, particularly in regards to defense and basically using your defense to create offense. You definitely see that with that South Carolina team. She is very guard accountable on that squad because she was a point guard herself. So she definitely demands that her guards in particular play smart, play good defense, and make good decisions on the basketball court. And all that definitely comes to play. It's a very gritty team. They got South Carolina. Like I said, Presley, as it stands now, I do give them a slight edge above everybody else in the country. But again, as I point out, if we can get Paige back and she's 100% and we get a few games under her belt, they basically meet up in the finals. It's going to be a good game. I'm going to put it at that.
He said, man, I ain't saying it. I just want to let you know ahead of time.
It's going to be a good game. The SEC is about to take over in football and basketball. You may very well be right about that, Coach B. You could very well be right. But like I said, I'm just liking that there's more parity now because, you know, back when I was covering women's basketball, for those of you who don't know my past situation, when I was in college, that was my sports beat. I covered women's basketball. That's why I am very passionate about it and women's sports in general. But, you know, back then you basically got three types of women's games. You either get that team that was okay, that played another team was okay, you get a good game. Then you get that team that's okay, and they play a team like a South Carolina or Tennessee or UConn, and it was ugly real quick. And you look up and it's like 94-20. It'd be one of the, and then you get those games for like they playing a UConn or something like that, and it's a school that got just enough girls on the squad to say they got a squad. Basically, girls that just learned how to dribble 2 years ago and stuff like that. Those games really, really ugly. Fortunately, they stopped scheduling a lot of those games because it just embarrasses the other team, you know? So, yeah, when you see stuff like that, that's when it's like, no, not so much. You're not getting as many of those games now. A lot more parity in college women's basketball. I appreciate that.
And I didn't forget what you definitely wanted to talk about when we were discussing. This is something we talked about a lot, man, about equal pay in sports in general, man. They feel like more people were recruiting and they were doing more advertisements for the college football versus the college women's and different sports. They always seem like they, sponsor more for the men versus the women. And this went on and translated to something really bad right now that happened. Well, actually, it was really good. It was a good field and it was a good win for lady soccer, man. The USWNT and the USSF settled equal pay suit for $24 million. I really feel like that was something that really shocked me because they stuck to their guns. They didn't appreciate the way they were getting treated over the men. And that's always talked about in sports in general. And they had to bite that, man. They had to bite the bullet on this one. How do you feel like moving forward that's going to help impact women's sports and equal pay?
I mean, well, think about it. I mean, one, this is a fight years in the making. The women's soccer team been trying to get equal pay for at least the last 8 years that I could think of. But remember, who really put dogs in this fight? You got to give them their credit. Starting out with, of course, the great Billie Jean King, who brought up this whole thing in the first place. If you remember that famous match with her playing Mr. Griggs in the boy beats girl situation in tennis back there in the late 70s, where she basically whooped the draws off that dude, as she should have, because she was at that time the #1 women's player in the world. You basically get the start of, we need to start being paid equally. We can be just as entertaining, if not better than the men. Right now, when you look at women's tennis, well, at least a few years prior, you basically had the Djokovic's and the Federers of the world on that side. But in terms of who was watching tennis and why they was watching, it was because of the Williams sisters. We all know when either Williams sister was in the finals or semifinals, ratings went up. Very similar to like when Tiger Woods is in the tournament, ratings go up. You want the quality. And in the end, if the women are the ones bringing the butts in the seats and the people watching the TV, then they should get paid accordingly. Particularly in any of the majors. I mean, the majors, they make millions upon millions of dollars. They can afford to pay the same amount for the women's champion as the men's champion. I think that's only right and fair. Plus, it does promote more women coming to the sport. It promotes more women being involved in sports, whether it is being a player or a person in charge of player personnel, person that does the medical things for the women, things of that nature. We got to do a better job of incorporating that so that more women feel empowered to be able to be like, yeah, I can do it too. I can go and make a living being a basketball player or a tennis player or a golfer, et cetera, et cetera. So I definitely am liking that this happened, and we need more of it to occur so that we can do this. Remember, in other countries, women are making much more money in terms of being sports figures than they are here. And that's crazy when we're supposed to be one of the richest, if not the richest country in the world.
It's sad that they have to go over to Europe and go over overseas to make that type of money when they should be making it here. I've seen it before, and I've showed you. I think last year, you remember I showed you that contract with Super Earl was making, and all the the accomplishments she had versus LeBron James. It wasn't even close as far as the money, and it's just really a shame because you figure that they'll do better by that. And as far as sports too, women putting money on the table or just basically putting butts in the seats. I definitely know the Williams sisters, man. Most time I didn't really know much about tennis, but I guarantee you that I was watching them in doubles or when they was in single competition when they were playing. Even if I didn't know who the hell they were playing, I didn't even know none of the other girls. But whenever they came around, I was watching because I knew who they were, and they are who we thought they were. So that was definitely something that made me intrigued to see them. And I just feel like that's a hard fight, man, but it's a good victory too on that behalf because it's going to make people open their eyes and wisen up a little more because it's a shame, man, that like you said, that a lot of these ladies got to go overseas and to get the type of money that they supposed to be getting over in the so-called richest country. You know,
and like I said, I really like that ESPN has stepped out over the years and made programming that actually is an ESPN Women that you can subscribe to if you have one of the cable network packages. But I would like them to go one step further and just have a women's sports streaming service altogether where you can find all the different women's sports. And basically you can pay into that. Now in the end, you can make it as an add-on too, so that if you get this, then there's that, so that people might necessarily not buy it straight up. But if you add it with the ESPN package, for instance, that might at least be people curious enough to be like, okay, well, what's on this women's thing? Let me check it out. And be like, hey, I kind of like this. I'm good with it.
I can't LLC this one right now, and I wish I could, damn it, because I know they're going to try to take it from me. ESPNW, the all-women network.
Like I said, they already have that, but it's only part of the package. It's basically like ESPN Classic or something like that. Like I said, I wanted to go that one step further where basically you go and, hell, you can even get enough sponsorship, I imagine, to make it a free channel like a Tubi or a Crackle for something to tune in. And that's definitely something that if I am a girl dad or a mother of a female athlete, it encourage them to watch more of this. Like, yeah, check this out. Maybe you can get some tips. Maybe you'll learn a few things. Maybe you can see what type of tournaments and stuff you can get into, that type of stuff.
I would definitely like to see that, man. See LFL on there too. And I'm glad you mentioned that too, because I just seen Liz Cambridge. Like she was talking about that. She was saying she wanted them to promote and advertise more with the WNBA. She said, we have one of the best sports in the world, and it's not being treated, it's not being advertised that way. And when I saw that, I said, man, it's sad because when you told me about it, I haven't really watched a lot of the WNBA until I looked in and I saw that tournament. When I seen how good it was, you best believe when they come back on, I'm on it, man, because I definitely appreciated the way they played in the playoffs, but then I want to see more of the regular season games. But yeah, it was really good, man. Them women were really talented, had some really good teams. And when we seen that the Aces game last year against Phoenix, man, they were battling. It was some good games, and it made me appreciate them a little more. And yeah, I feel like it's sad when they're feeling that way, but it was a lot of people advertising the game. You had a lot of NBA guys over there. You had a lot of stars, actors, actresses. That was pretty cool to see this last year, and hopefully that escalate and pick up a little bit more during this season as well.
Right, and understand one of the good things in the All-Star game that we got to mention that people need to understand more about, there is a new humanitarian, if you want to call it that, award being issued out by the NBA. It's basically called the Kobe and Gigi Bryant Award. It's basically rewarding people that are making strides to help improve the understanding, improvement, and overall relationship between them and the WNBA. Chris Paul received that award this year because he has invested not only his time but his money into having youth leagues with both girls and boys, learning the skills of basketball and things of that nature. So I definitely want to give him his props for that. I definitely want to give Vanessa Bryant her props for being a part of making that happen as well, to honor not only her husband but her fallen daughter as well. I can't help but wonder what she would have been like at this point, knowing that she at this point probably been like a few years away from going to UConn, and man, that's probably right around the time AZ Fudd would have been a senior. That might have been quite a squad too, you know. It's just sad that they are gone. God rest Kobe and daughter Gigi. But all right, hold on, we got another comment here. Give me a second. Oh, where'd it go? There we go. I know I missed a lot of the show. Did y'all talk about Jim Harbaugh and Juwan Howard? We talked about Juwan Howard. Jim Harbaugh, I'm not quite sure what that discussion was about. I don't recall Jim doing anything of note of late. Do you?
No, besides just signing that contract, and they saying it was NFL friendly, that he could still, if he choose, kind of flirt with an NFL team.
Yeah, well, I think that's still in the realm of possibility at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know when he was doing those interviews, he said that he had in his business, and he was actually a really good coach in the NFL, man. I just think that the whole, a feud between him and management, or, the owners, really was one of the big issues that made him leave. But man, I feel like every season he was a coach, man, every 500, hell, he even took San Francisco to the Super Bowl. So yeah, right. Man, I feel like he could still have a chance or have some type of impact in the NFL. But for now, man, we want to focus on making our organization better in Michigan, because they took a really huge step, and I'm just looking forward to seeing them, take some more strides.
Right. And speaking of good news, I don't know if you posted this in Pure to the Game, and I'm pretty sure you did, but you didn't put it on our list. But I definitely want to talk about it. Shout out to the Pittsburgh Steelers for doing the right thing and hiring Coach Flores to be part of their staff. Keep in mind, it's one thing to walk the walk, but to talk the talk and walk the walk is a whole nother story. Remember, because of the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise, we have the Rooney Rule in the first place, to try to bring some equality to NFL football. So I like the fact that whether it was them that reached out to him or Tomlin speaking to management and wanting to reach out, or however it worked out, that they basically gave him a job and not required him to drop his lawsuit or anything. So that is still in play in terms of him suing the league for the practices and whatnot. But yeah, I like the fact that they looked past that and hired him based on his merit. That's definitely a good addition to the Steelers staff.
I definitely put that on my page, and he even made a reference that he wasn't mad at Coach Bill Belichick, and I was like, why would he be mad at him? But then I forgot Coach Bill Belichick congratulated him, thinking he got the job. And then that's when he backpedaled and said, my bad, I effed up. It was Brian Daboll got the job.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he wasn't mad at him for the miscommunication, but at the same time, it's good for them. And they gave him a really good position. It's damn near like him being like a coach almost. It's just like a little under Tomlinson. But that's really good, man, because it's unfortunate that all this had to go down, but for him to keep that lawsuit in place is really big too, because I felt like that was unfair, man. For him to win that many games and to sweep New England, which Miami never really do often.
Mm-hmm.
And they beat a lot of good teams, man, when they won all those games in a row. They just had a rough game against the Tennessee Titans, which when you look at it, winning that many games in a row, man, I knew a loss was coming, but to still finish 500 after losing the first 7 games and finishing strong the way they did, it was just a disappointment. You knew it was a red flag. You knew something wasn't right when that happened, because we all was like, huh? We were scratching.
Like I said, at this point, you got to realize how good a coaching job it really was when it appears that his organization Not only did not want him to win, was working toward not helping him win at all.
Yeah, it was like they've set him up to fail, man. And what was crazy about the whole thing too is getting rid of Mika Fitzpatrick and getting rid of players who were disgruntled and who didn't want to be there, and him putting in the formula of the players who wanted to be there and having that winning, type of, tradition, and to stick to his guns and to do what he did, and he felt like it was doing what was right for his team, and to come out and to go through all that he went through. Yeah, man, I wouldn't be surprised, E-Man, and I know Coach V and everybody else who listening, Pride, man, they might have a movie about that.
I got to be honest, I'm not a big fan of tanking. I mean, right now, when you look at it, outside of maybe the Houston Astros, who did that really work for in any major sport? The whole tanking aspect. It just don't seem like a good strategy.
You seen the next comment about y'all think Tua is the right quarterback for Miami?
For the time being, yes.
Yeah, he possibly might be because, without him, they wouldn't have won all those games, and he played exceptionally well. I was starting to get a little nervous about Tua, but then when that win streak came about, man, he played lights out. He didn't really play that bad the game they lost. It was just that that defense was in his face, man. And at the beginning of that game when Tennessee played the Bengals, man, just think about it. Don't get it twisted. Them dudes had 9 sacks in that game. It was just they came out on top because they had the ball last. It might have been a different, situation if, Tennessee got the ball last. But at the same time, I just feel like right now, when it comes to Tua, I definitely feel like he's a pretty decent quarterback. At least give the man a chance. He only been there for 2 years, and all he's been hearing was scrutiny, man. They were saying Watson, the Watson trade never was to the point where he felt comfortable and he felt like it was his team. And when he finally got a chance to shine, he did just that. So, yeah, I feel like they should definitely let him play out his contract, whether they're going to give him 2 more years or even the 5th-year option. But, yeah, I feel like right now it's his job to lose.
The answer to that question, yeah, Venus and Serena are partial owners of Miami. It's a very small stake they have in the team, but, yeah, they are partial owners. I'm 90% sure they are. Bottom line, you got to give Tua a chance to have one healthy season. Remember, he probably shouldn't have been playing that first year. Let's be honest. They kind of rushed him out there. That was a major leg injury. Basically the same kind of injury similar to what Klay Thompson had. You see how long it took him before he got back on the floor. So, yeah, I think they really needed to give him quality time. These are the types of things that decision makers think about. I think that's part of why Paige Beckers ain't back on the floor. As Coach has said in his press conference, if you left it up to Paige, she would have already been playing. They are just trying to make sure that she is right and tight, period, that she doesn't have any further injuries, because you have to recognize that young lady is probably not only the UConn of the past, present, and future, but also the future of the WNBA for all intents and purposes. When all is said and done, she might be right up there with Tarazi and Big Brittany and everybody else in terms of all-time greats when all is said and done. Sue Bird and the like. Candace Parker. We can go on and on, y'all. Coach says Tua needs more development. What do you think about that, Hugh?
I think that he just needed a fair share, like you said, to be healthy and get all the reps and be able to, do his job. Because that guy, like you said, the first year he shouldn't have played.
You also got to remember a certain part of the whole COVID thing comes into play with all that too. He didn't have the time to properly be in the facility and get all the appropriate training and whatnot. Remember, it wasn't even no preseason that first year they came back. So there's that.
But I still think that he's pretty good over there in Miami. And like I said, I just feel like they should let him play his college years out or let his play his contract out. Let me.
And then, you got to give him some more weapons to work with too, by the way.
Yeah.
Like he had much to work with.
Because, Devontae Parker's a really good weapon, but he did. Yeah, you're right. He definitely still need a little something over there. He got, what's the guy? The tight end's actually pretty good too, though. Kazeki. He's actually decent, but he still need another wide receiver. If
And
I
don't
could,
forget the kid out of Alabama that they got.
oh yeah, Jalen Weddle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then it's only his first year too, man. I would love to see him in his second year with Tua,
Did
man. I
you
think that's
forget that, Hugh? I know you didn't forget nobody from Alabama. Not you.
nah.
And
But I
speaking
still
of
feel like
our favorite teams and whatnot, shout out to Shea Patterson, who was actually the number one pick that the Michigan Panthers actually had in the USFL and went number one to them, the former quarterback from Michigan, who actually spent a little time on the bench sitting behind Mahomes and Mr. Henney, another Michigan quarterback. So hopefully he learned a little something.
yeah. But no, yeah, I still feel like they need another weapon over there in Miami, like another receiver, like a slot guy or whatnot.
Mhm.
But Shea Patterson going over there to that team and being first, man, I'm impressed because I feel like he didn't really get a good share. And I definitely want him to get the opportunity to prove himself. Hey, you never know. You might see him coming down to the NFL in the future.
Bottom line, it was another
See
quarterback
how
came
that
out of
works out.
Michigan, and they didn't think much of him going into the NFL early on, and he ended up being all right. Who is that guy? Somebody named Tom Brady, I think it is. Somebody like that. What do our Lions need to do to compete? You try to start a whole nother show with that question, ain't you,
Yeah,
Coach?
man, we'll talk about that for another 2 hours.
Yeah, we gonna let that one go now, Coach. But as we get closer to the NFL draft, we'll definitely talk about it. I'm real curious to see if the Lions make some movements in regards to picks. Remember, when they got that pick from the Rams, they figured they would get a decent pick in the 20s. They ain't think that Matthew was gonna go straight over there and win outright. So now that pick's the 32nd pick, and it may be in their better interest to trade it to trade up or trade it to trade down to get more picks. We'll see. What do
Yeah,
you think,
man.
Hugh?
For the people who looking forward to watching the NFL draft and don't know what it's all about or still trying to get their feet wet into the draft, man, one of the best things they can do is go ahead and check out that Walter Football, man. It's walterfootball.com. It's pretty good, man. It talks about the quarterbacks, the top five, your top five quarterbacks, the running backs, every position and every team's position that need too. It'll definitely help educate you as far as the college prospects and the guys coming out and going to the NFL.
And another thing you can do is check out this right here because it's constant news being posted about people leaving teams, people upgrading teams, potential rumors and whatnot. You know what I'm talking about, Hugh. Tell them about this here.
Yes, sir. Y'all already know what to do. Hit up that Pure to the Game, baby. Thank you for plugging me. Give me that plug, E. Hit me up, man. I'm on there every day trying to get y'all the best news possible. I appreciate all the love and pride and all the other people who've been on the show showing me love, man. Hit up that blog, man. I'm always on there and I'm putting the best news possible. It's definitely going to get into the NFL free agency soon. And I'm going to be putting everything on there from which team's going to be on there and which team's going to be drafted and what trades. So, yeah, definitely get at me, man. That's going to always be open 24/7, baby. Pure to the game.
Let me also do a couple shout outs right quick. I want to shout out my cousin, Dr. Marla Facey. Thank you for the invitation to be on your show this week. Basically, we talked about life as a single man or woman and this day and age of 2022. Apparently, it's a show that they're going to do next Monday as well. So please check me out on there. You can follow me on my YouTube page. You can follow anybody else in the Nighthawk Network on their corresponding YouTube pages as well. Whether it's Dr. Marla Facey or Stan Mason or Big Meech, Hugh, or whoever it may be, you can hit us up and like and share and follow. We would appreciate that. We got several comments that have come in. We got a little situation. We'll take care of that. Please ignore those last comments, y'all, who have seen that. We've been having that situation to that person who has posted that. You definitely will be reported once again. you got to find something better to do with your time, people. But nonetheless,
Yeah.
let us go ahead and wrap it up here, Hugh. Any last words before we go?
Appreciate y'all, man. Please excuse the ignorance that just happened on here, but we appreciate all the love and support, and we'll definitely hope to see y'all next week.
Absolutely. So until then, y'all be blessed. Y'all be safe. Watch out for the foolishness, by the way. In an ideal world where all sports are done equal and all people are dealt with fairly, we would have less to talk about. But in any way, shape, or form, whatever it is, major story wise, we will be here to talk to y'all about it every week, unless we take that occasional week off, as we will do. So, yeah, if we are not talking about the sports or the situations that you guys want us to talk about, by all means, hit us up at the Nighthawk Network at NightHNetwork313 at gmail.com. You can read the ticker there and see it for yourself. That is NightHNetwork313 at gmail.com. All your comments and things are very much appreciated, and we thank you. But until next Wednesday, we about to head out. Have a good rest of the week. Be safe. Remember, we are still in the midst of the pandemic. It's getting much better, y'all, but we still ain't quite where we need to be yet. So just be careful out there, all right? Until then, y'all, we will see y'all next Wednesday. Get ready, Hugh. You got them two fingers for me? Where they at? Throw them in the screen. Throw them in the screen. You know what to do. Wait for it. Wait for it. Gone. Gametime Audible is a Nighthawk Network presentation. All right, y'all. We'll see y'all next time. We out of here.